fans, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ndeye Peinda and I am super excited to be back here for another video. This week is really special because I am collaborating with 15 other amazing Black content creators. We are doing a full week of content centered on Black-owned brands, Black stories, Black experiences, and today's focus is going to be on health. And we were able to do whatever we want with health. So there are some people that are talking about periods. There are some people that are talking about working out. There are some people that are talking about mental health. So I will be leaving all of their channels down below so that you can check out their videos as well as their Instagram posts. Make sure you are following myself as well as all of these amazing creators on Instagram and subscribe to their channels on YouTube. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the video now. I want to make a disclaimer on what this video is. I am someone that is West African. I have a West African background. I'm also Muslim, and I know that there are a lot of people who watch my platform that watch it because they enjoy it, but there's also some people that watch it just to keep up. And so the topic that I'm going to be speaking on is something that is very taboo, and there's a stigma in discussing essentially a woman's body in our culture and our religion. And so I want to make sure that I make the disclaimer that all this video is doing is trying to encourage us as women and as Black women, as African women, to have conversations within our households, with our sisters, with our mothers, with our aunts, in order to understand and learn more about our bodies. It's literally just a video to focus on having these conversations. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm super nervous as I'm making this because I don't want any of my words to be construed. But I feel like as someone that is a young woman, also someone that has been a teacher, and someone that has 3 sisters but was the oldest, I have struggled a lot. And I struggled a lot when I was growing up when it came to understanding my body. And so I just want to make sure that that's not a struggle that we necessarily have moving forward, and that we just bring up the conversation on what is kind of like the elephant in the room. So yeah, make sure you go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you are interested. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Before we even get into it, y'all peep the background. I hope that you guys are loving it. I have completely remade over my filming room slash my office slash my Zen room, and I'm super excited just about the different ways in which I can film content. I got a little green couch over here. If you're new to my channel, then you don't know, but I do have a yellow couch series, which is basically like girl chats but on a yellow couch that I have in my house. We also have green chats, green chair chats. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. If you see me looking over to the side, it is because I have notes, because again, I don't want anybody to have my video in their family group chat. I don't want anybody calling my mom and trying to stress me out. So I want to make sure that I just talk about this in the way that is best. So let me actually move my desk so that my notes can be in front of me. Perfect. Also, I know y'all see Musu Beauty, Coco Nilla, love this. Okay, so what inspired me to have this conversation? As a young African girl, as a young African Muslim girl, there were so many expectations that I had and that were placed on me, my sisters, my friends, my cousins, and my community when it comes to knowing how to cook, when it comes to knowing how to clean, knowing how to do laundry, and knowing how to do all of these things in order to be considered a good woman or a good girl, right? And in all of those conversations, we were taught these things. So we learned how to clean, we learned how to properly fold, we learned how to properly iron. But one thing that I felt was always missing for me was learning about my body, learning how to properly take care of my body, learning how to know when something was wrong and feeling comfortable with speaking up and saying that. And it's not because me and my mom didn't have a great relationship. We had an amazing relationship. I think it's ultimately that there's a stigma and there is shame that comes with a young woman's body within our cultures, that doesn't permit open conversations because of the taboo of, well, what are you really trying to ask, or what are you really trying to talk about? So my goal is to shed light on a little bit on my experiences, as well as some of the experiences I know so many young African girls have had. And I want to be particular because one of the blurred lines is it something that is a West African thing or African thing? Is it something that is a Muslim thing? Because a lot of times our culture and our religion collide, and I think that there becomes a gray area of, is this something that is religious or is this something that is cultural? So I want to speak more so to the cultural aspect of it, because I know for a fact that I'm not the only person that has experienced it. So I'm genuinely hoping to just force the open conversation. Like I said before, I keep saying it because y'all, I'm scared about what I'm about to talk about, and I don't know, but my goal is for us to erase all of the stigma that exists and all of the shame that exists when it comes to being a young girl, being a young woman, and to get these conversations started within our households. So first and foremost, I want to talk to you guys about periods. Even saying the word, I'm being very honest with you, even just saying the word period, my period, it feels weird. It feels weird to talk about because I know that one of the things that, you know, I took pride in, and one of the things that my mom took pride in, is that growing up, you would never know when I was on it, right? And like, that's something that you take pride in, when no one is able to know that you're on your period, because there's a negative connotation, there's almost a shame with it. It's almost seen as like unclean or dirty. And ultimately, when we have that stigma when it comes to our periods, there's so many things that factor into us as women and our reproductive health that just not talking about it could be extremely detrimental. So one of the first things I learned when I got on my period was how to do the bath after you're off your period in order to essentially cleanse yourself so that you can pray. But there were so many other questions that I had as far as like, what is this? How long should it last? Is there supposed to be a smell? Is there not supposed to be a smell? When you see like anything that's just not, like, even talking about it feels so weird, and I'm so sorry because I know that I'm saying we should be discussing it, but it's hard to break from these stigmas and it's hard to break from the shame. And so I'm gonna struggle through this video because I'm talking about something that's so uncomfortable, but that I think is so needed. And so even when it comes to your period, like, I remember at one point when I would see like when it was a little thicker, I was like so scared and so confused, and I didn't know how to bring up the conversation. I didn't know how to talk about it. So what did I do? I Googled it. I looked it up. I found websites. If you're around my age, you probably know about beinggirl.com. I don't know if it's still a thing that exists, but I remember being on that site almost every day trying to learn about my period and trying to learn what it was, because it just wasn't something that was discussed. The biggest thing was be clean. This is how you take care of it. This is what you use for it. And that was kind of it, right? And in not having these conversations, or in this idea of shame coming about, we also see it when it comes to Ramadan, right? Because during Ramadan, if you're on your period, you're not allowed to fast. But there's almost this idea of no one should know that you're not fasting. Or if you're a woman outside and you're Muslim, it's almost just like you don't want to eat amongst other people because you don't want to bring attention to yourself. Because you don't want them to know that you're on your period, right? So ingrained within my culture and ingrained within my religion a little bit as well, I know that I've personally experienced just this idea of it being the unspoken thing that just exists, right, within a room, or that just exists within your daily life. For me personally, moving forward, when I have a family, or, you know, even within my sisters, I want us to be able to normalize conversations about it, because there's so many things that also factor into getting your period, such as extreme debilitating pain. And I don't know what it's like in other countries. I don't know what it's like to be physically in Senegal and have debilitating cramps or have debilitating periods. But I do know that even for me, within my family, within my close friends, you know, some of my friends and some of my family members had debilitating periods, but their parents just didn't believe it. They didn't understand, why do you need to stay home from school because you have cramps? Like, it's almost as though it's not fathomable to understand what is happening. And then there's no want to learn or want to talk about it. And with that comes this idea of, or the next topic of, just like birth control, because one of the ways in which you can control your period cramps or your period pains is by getting on birth control. But then how do you, as a young African Muslim girl, bring up to your mother or bring up to your father that you need to be on birth control for your period? And I know to some people who aren't a part of my culture or a part of my religion, you might be like, girl, like, what do you mean? Like, you just asked them. But I know for me, there's just like, and for a lot of people that I know, there's a fear of, do they understand that birth control does other things beyond just prevent you from getting pregnant? And is there understanding that it's something that could help you when it comes to your period? And if you are afraid to have those conversations, you end up putting yourself through a cycle of just dealing and enduring with the extreme pain because of the fear of how you will be looked at if you are taking birth control, not just from your family, but something that I know is impacted within my culture. Is just this idea of like people sharing information, right? So like, how does, I know, like, growing up, there would be things that I would say, like, for example, Sweet 16, and my mom would like ask other people in the community, hey, how do you feel about a Sweet 16? Just because if she wasn't knowledgeable on it, she wanted to get, you know, other people's opinion. And even for something like a Sweet 16, it was just like, don't do it. They're gonna think they're grown. They're gonna think this. They're gonna think that. So imagine a parent within this community wanting to know, well, should their child be on birth control? It's clearly not even something that's going to want to be brought up because it's almost going to be seen as shame. Beyond just our periods and period pains and cramps and birth control, let's talk about just like our reproductive health. There are things that happen to young women not as a result of anything other than just their bodies doing different things, right? So UTIs, yeast infections, all of these things can happen from the type of clothing that you wear, from the type of weather that you're in, from the type of foods that you eat, right? But when things start to happen that are weird down there, there's a fear again of, how will I be looked at? How will I be perceived? And will there be questions about why I'm experiencing these things? And will I be seen as less than? Will I be shaming my mother for talking about these things? And I was speaking to a friend who said like they literally was going unbeknownst to them with a UTI for almost 2 or 3 weeks because of the fear of just like speaking about it. But even for me as a teacher, I have physically escorted students to the women's health center or to the health center within our school building in order to figure out what was going on. I have physically had to tell students, you need to go to Planned Parenthood, you need to go do all of these things to get it checked out because of the fear they had in having these conversations with their parents. And that's so detrimental, that's so harmful because you don't know and we don't know what long-term effects could come from not taking care of our bodies, specifically our area down there. Like even just saying the word, I'm sorry, I can't bring myself to say it because I'm so like, it's so conditioned within me, but you all know what I'm talking about. Like we don't, by not taking care of, let's say, Cookie, or by not knowing how to take care of it, you could be causing long-term harm to yourself. And so it's so important that we take away the stigma. So how do you do it? How do we have these conversations? I think that the first step is one, as parents, as sisters, as aunts, normalizing the idea that being a young woman, being a young girl goes beyond just what you can physically do. Being a young girl means that you are going to go through puberty, your body is going to change, and you need to be equipped in order to deal with those changes. So I think that what would have been helpful for me when I first got my period could have just been, or for any young girl when they get their period, is just a conversation about what is your period? What are the different ways in which this can look? Here's a book that you can look at, or here's a website you can go to, or what questions do you have? Or even just when you know that your daughter or your niece or your whoever, your sister has first gotten their period, asking them after the month, hey, are you on your period? How was it? Was it heavy? Was it not heavy? Did you notice any differences? Also normalizing using apps such as Flow to track how did you feel before your period, because there's so many things we don't even talk about. Like for me, I know that I'm about to get my period when I start breaking out, right? So that's something that is hormonal, that happens to my body, that ends up being physical as a result of what is about to come, right? But if I was younger and I didn't have this information, I just saw myself breaking out, that could also cause self-esteem issues within me, or have me hating my period and thinking that something crazy was happening, when in reality it's just a normal part of the cycle. So just normalizing conversations from the very beginning, when you know that someone within your family, whether it's your child, whether it's your niece, has gotten their period, have the conversation with them, what it is and what it is not, and why they need to be careful, and how, like, things like smells, things like textures, things like the color. These are all things that you are ashamed to talk about, but it's so empowering to know these things, because how do you know that something is wrong if you don't even know what something should look like when it's right? Like, I don't think I'm doing justice to this topic, because again, there's still fear in me with talking about this, and it's so ingrained in me to not talk about it. But ultimately it's just this idea that, like, if you don't even have these conversations, you don't have the basic foundation, the basic knowledge to know how to take care of yourself. I think a second thing could just be, as a child or as a daughter, bringing up the conversation to your parent. And I know that if you are younger, I know that if you are my age, even for me, at my big age, at my grown age of 27, of course to my parents I'm still a baby and I will ride that wave until the death of me. But, you know, even at my big age, having conversations with my mom about my body is just like, I would go to Google first, I would go to my friends first, and it's not because I don't think I could have that conversation, it's just that I'm not used to it. But some of my siblings are. It's just for me, as the oldest, I feel like I had to just figure everything out. And that's just like a whole nother topic. But I think that for those of us that are a bit older, or for those of us that are younger, just going to our parents and just letting them know how we felt, or letting them know what we're going through, and just bringing it up, breaking the ice. you know, and just being able to say what it is that you're going through, to see what help that they could provide you with. Or if they can't provide you with the help, let it be known, figure it out for yourself, and then share that information back with them. Because I'm pretty sure, I'm like 90% sure, some of our own parents and some of our own aunts and older, you know, siblings and things like that, they don't even know, you know, some things. They don't even have the answers themselves, because it's constant, right? It's not like they didn't give you the information because they didn't want to. It could be just that they didn't have it. I think a third thing is just me doing what I'm doing now, which is creating a video to talk about it, but then also providing you with resources that you could use in order to learn this information. Because I do think that it sounds good to say talk to your parents about it, or talk to your older siblings and things like that about it, but I know that there'll probably be some pushback. Well, there's Google, or there's all of these things, and it's just like sometimes the information that we find on Google doesn't apply to us as Black women. We have to be realistic and we have to be honest with ourselves. We know that the healthcare system disproportionately affects us. We know even when it comes to diseases that predominantly affect Black women or Black men, there's less research and less funding behind it. So what could be happening to you and to your body, and the information that you find on Google could be two completely different things. But I do think that there are certain apps and certain things that you can do in order to better understand your body and better understand what is happening and better understand when you need to go get checked out and when something is wrong and when something is right. And so some of the things that I've done is I use Flow to track my period, to know when it's coming. Something that I have been told that is a good thing to do is just to write down everything that is happening. So just daily journaling. Like if something feels off, when does it feel off? Is it after you've eaten? Is it after you've drinking? Is it after you've worked out? Is it after you've gotten out the shower? After you used the bathroom? Just notate. If you are feeling anything that is weird, write it all down, so that when you do go visit a physician, or when you do go visit a doctor, not a physician, when you do go visit a doctor or GYN, you are able to have all of the information about how you felt and when that is written down, so that that could better further assist them in helping you. I think another thing could just be finding online communities. There are plenty of, and I'm sure plenty of resources, plenty of groups, plenty of support groups where conversations are centered around your body and the things that you're going through, whether it be endometriosis, whether it be fibroids, whether it be anything that is happening to you. There is going to be a support group of women that is going through it as well. So just being able to find those groups, whether on Facebook or on Instagram, I feel like could be super helpful. But overall, my goal in having this discussion, my goal in this video that is around women's health, is mainly to break the stigma of talking about your body as a young girl, as a young woman in our African, our Muslim communities, and normalizing discussions surrounding our body, our body's health, our reproductive system, our periods. I'm gonna say it, okay? We need to have conversations about our periods. We need to have conversations about what is happening down there. And by having these conversations, I think that ultimately we will create an environment, and we will be creating, you know, situations where young girls feel empowered to talk about what is happening to them, and it could potentially prevent any negative health effects that could happen afterwards, because they were able and safe enough to have the conversation. There should be no stigma, no shame in being a woman, and anything that comes with that. So please, 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 if you have watched this video and you found it helpful, or you just feel like it's a much needed discussion or a conversation, please let me know in the comment section down below. Like I said, I was really nervous. I'm still nervous. I still feel like even with my notes, I didn't even articulate myself the way that I wanted to, because there's so many different ways in which this conversation can go. But I want to make sure that we remain centered on the point of these conversations are important. I know that what I discuss is not going to be the same across every single household. I know that there are going to be some West African parents or some African or Muslim parents that have these healthy discussions. I'm speaking more so from my personal experience, as well as the experience of the people that I know that are close to me, that are within my friend circle. So I don't want to speak for everyone. I'm just speaking for myself. And I hope that if you are a young girl, if you are a young woman watching this, it encourages you to ensure that you break the cycle, and that you have the conversation with your children, with your sisters, with your nieces about their bodies. And that if you find the courage, have the conversation with your mother, have the conversation with your aunt or your dad. Even men need to be aware of these conversations, because men are fathers as well, and they deal with daughters. And so it's important for us to educate ourselves, educate our parents about what we're going through, and have safe spaces so that we can be healthy and we can take care of our bodies and ensure that, you know, everything that comes with being a woman comes with pride, and there's no shame around it. So make sure you give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below, let me know your thoughts, let me know if you aren't West African, or if in general, just let me know what have been your experiences as a woman when it comes to talking about your body. Has there been stigma? Has there been shame? How have you overcome it? Thank you guys so much. See you next time.